Ernest Hemingway writes in his Green Hills of Africa, talking about the feeling of being on safari. So now, going along the sandy track of the road in the car, the lights picking out the eyes of night birds that squatted close on the sand until the bulk of the car was on them and they rose in soft panic. Passing the fires of the travelers that all moved to the westward by day along this road, abandoning the famine country that was ahead of us. Me sitting, the butt of my rifle on my foot, the barrel in the crook of my left arm, a flask of whiskey between my knees, pouring the whiskey into a tin cup and passing it over my shoulder in the dark for Mukola to pour water into it from the canteen. Drinking this, the first one of the day, the finest one there is, and looking at the thick bush we passed in the dark, feeling the cool wind of the night and smelling the good smell of Africa, I was altogether happy. Greetings. It's a good sunny day in BC. My name is Ellis Thomas. Some of you may know me as the literary vagabond. You may have gotten a poem typed on good old Nimbus here. From me, out and about, I have exciting news to share with you today. My writing journey has reached a beautiful point, a critical moment where I spent the last 2 years of my life working on something very personal to me. And I quote Hemingway's Green Hills of Africa, because for those of you who don't know, I grew up in Nairobi, Kenya. And only when I was early 20s, I'm 26 now, did I find out that Hemingway loved to travel to Africa and specifically to the Chyulu Hills in Kenya in order to hunt and go on safari there. And reading that book was a big inspiration for me because he's definitely one of my favorite writers. So, inspired by his novel, I set out to write a story of my own, pulling different aspects of my life growing up in Kenya and coming to Canada. And the result of that is A Bridge Across Time, my first novel. So the synopsis of the book, protagonist is called Thomas Grimm. He finds himself in the icy winters of Alberta, single, stuck in a job he hates, pondering life, afflicted by those eternal questions we all ask ourselves. When suddenly, a woman enters his life and completely transforms it. However, how often is the case that life often comes in the way of love, and the two find themselves separated by unbearable distance? When Thomas's best friend and junior archaeologist, Harry Hunter, returns from an expedition in Kenya with an ancient ritual stone that the native Maasai tribesmen, which are a nomadic tribe in Kenya, used to use thousands of years ago, Thomas decides to act out the ritual humorously. Lo and behold, a bridge across time appears in their closet, and the warm, magical landscape of the Chyulu Hills stands before them, the Green Hills of Africa. This portal takes them on an adventure beyond their wildest fantasy and imagination, one that perhaps brings answers to Thomas's eternal questions, and maybe brings love back to its full essence. This book is basically about the adventures they have and an attempt to answer those eternal questions that we all ask ourselves. The genre is portal fantasy, magical realism, romantic, philosophical, and religious themes. One thing I was really happy about was I got to go back to Kenya to see my parents in the summer of this year, and I actually managed to go to the Chyulu Hills that Hemingway writes about and spend a night camping on top there. And I'll show you the video, but the beauty is truly indescribable. So the paperback is available on Amazon all over the world. For those who love reading on the Kindle, which I do too, the Kindle edition is also out, and I was also really happy to be able to format it properly for the Kindle. Unfortunately, my first novella that I published, Interstellar Madness, I couldn't really use the Kindle software, but this time I was able to, so it's a really good reading experience in the Kindle. The cheapest option is the PDF version, which is available on my website. I will also always have copies with me whenever I go out writing poems for the public. As always, I really appreciate everybody who takes the time to sit with me for a poem and express my creativity. It's really a blessing. And so, to end, I will leave you with another quote from the Green Hills of Africa, where Hemingway is asked, "Tell me first, what are the actual concrete things that harm a writer?" And Hemingway says, "Politics, women, drink, money, ambition. And the lack of politics, women, drink, money, and ambition," he says profoundly. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and have a good day.